So most of you know me. I'm Frances Vanscoy. I'm on the computer science faculty at WVU. Been here since 1979. And so today I wanted to take, I guess, about 24 minutes and give you an overview of a language that you probably haven't seen if you haven't had a class with me. And if you've had a class with me, you've seen this already. And if you're in 475, I assure you, you will see it later on. I want to talk about a language called Inform 7 that's designed for writing interactive fiction. And I consider there to be a big overlap between interactive fiction and text-based adventure games. And so you can think about text-based adventure games. So I want to talk briefly about interactive fiction, and then about the language, and then run through some examples. You have two handouts. One of them is purely code for every example I'm doing today, and probably a few more. The other one is more of a narrative version of my slides. So first of all, interactive fiction. It's software simulating environments in which players use text commands to control characters and influence the environment. That sounds a lot like a text-based adventure game to me. I have some sources of information up here about interactive fiction. The Interactive Fiction Archive has a very large collection of works in this genre. The IF Reader is a theory book, more of the kind that our friends in communication studies or in English would especially find interesting. I find it great fun to read. I have not read the whole thing, and I've had it for several years, but you can download it for free. If that link's broken, ask me and I'll find you another link. Here are some playable examples of interactive fiction. Cloak of Darkness is especially interesting. It's a very tiny game with only 3 rooms, and you can play it in 10 minutes. But it's intentionally written by several different people in several different languages. So this can give you insight into, if you want to learn a language in order to write this style of game, it gives you some insight into what you might enjoy writing in. Inform 7 is a natural language-based programming language for writing interactive fiction. They claim it's like writing English. It isn't. It can take me 2 hours, 4 hours, after several years of doing this, to figure out how to do something I want to do that seems pretty simple. But the good thing about it is that if someone hands you a game and says, you know, I just wrote this cool game, you can probably sit down and read it and understand it. So at least it's easy to read. And it's gradually being translated into other languages. But you'll see that the English is rather stylized. Here is where you can go to get copies. There are systems for the usual suspects, Mac OS X. Well, this says Windows XP. Well, it's Windows, whatever, you know, Windows. I've got it on Windows XP. I've got it on Windows 8. I don't own a Windows 10. It's been on every Mac I've owned for several years. Also Linux. And it runs, the code runs on all those systems plus Android and web browsers and players. I can't pronounce Jame, so whatever. So I'm just going to jump right in, since most of you are skilled programmers, and write a bit of code, or show you some code. And here's a house I'm trying to model, where the little black rectangles are doors. You notice right away I've got a left square bracket and a right square bracket, and it looks like English text. That's a comment. We use square brackets in 2 places in the language. If we're outside of quotation marks, they bracket a comment. We'll see the other use soon. Here's what I might write just to set up a model of a house. The living room is a room. And by saying the living room is, just want to make sure that our faculty friends from downtown have copies of the handouts. I made 20 copies, so there should be plenty. So here I'm setting up the rooms of my game. And I just said the living room is a room. And by the very first room I list is the room in which play begins. So that's easy enough. And then I say things like the dining room is north of the living room, and the kitchen is east of the dining room. And so I use that kind of, you know, ordinary English to set up the map. A good thing about Inform is that the system gives me a map. Now, when I give the game to a friend to play, I probably won't give my friend a copy of the map, because usually part of the fun is exploring, but it helps me as a game designer to see how the rooms are being laid out. And you see a very abstract, I mean, we have the living room, middle row over to the right, go north to the dining room, east to the kitchen, and so forth. So it's not to scale, but at least it shows the logical connections. And if you compare the generated map from Inform 7 with the map I drew earlier, you know, they aren't the same, you know, they aren't to scale, but again, you see the relationships okay. And so now what I have at the top of the screen, you know, IGE game, etc., and then down to the left is starting to play the game. It's not really a game, but I start it up, and it says living room, which tells me I am in the living room. And then I say north, and it says dining room, because I'm now in the dining room, and east, so I'm now in the kitchen. I can add a second floor to the house, and you see up here, I said the upstairs hallway is up from the stairway, so I can go up and down and have lots of layers. And so now I see the map. Now that I've added some extra rooms, and again, you've got complete examples in the handouts, so you can easily remember this or check it out later on. You see some red arrows saying, let's see, the stairway is west of the dining room, up from the stairway is the upper hallway, etc. So it's a way of helping me see the different levels of my house or of a dungeon, as in Rogue or NetHack. But when I put that note to myself to skip, but I can't resist. You see this thing I don't like about this, and that is that when you turn west from the dining room, you should be in the stairway. And there's the office sitting there, which logically is north of the main hallway, but it's not in between the dining room and the stairs. So the map didn't turn out quite the way I wanted, and that's unfortunately true of Inform 7. They claim that like the bulk of the code is to draw the map. And I could show you some really fun examples where it really messes up. And so the easiest way, there are some ways that you as a programmer can suggest where you want the rooms to be drawn in the map, but what I usually do first is I just try to rearrange the rooms, and I rearrange the order of the rooms, and I suddenly got a good map where things make sense. But the rooms are pretty boring. I just have names of rooms. And so I want to add descriptions to the rooms. And for example, I'm saying the living room is a room, and then I added another sentence. The description of the living room is the walls of the living room are painted green. The dining room is north of the living room. The description of the dining room is there's a window in the north wall of the dining room. Through the window you can see the garage and the backyard. And so when I go to play the game, here's what happens. I start in the room, it tells me the walls of the living room are painted green. When I go north, I see I'm in the dining room, and it says there is a window in the north wall of the dining room. Through the window you can see the garage and the backyard. So now I'd like to add objects to my rooms. And so, what do I want to do? The red ink gives a clue. But in the paragraph describing the living room, I say a fireplace and a television are in the living room. And when I describe the dining room, I say a dining table and a china cupboard are in the dining room. Interesting. So now as I wander around, I'm in the living room and I hear, or I read, you can see a fireplace and a television here. And then I can take television. That's a verb in most adventure games. So I pick up the television, I go north into the dining room, and I drop the television. I don't like saying drop the television because bad things might happen, but you can modify that to a different verb. This is dropped, and I look, and I see that in the dining room, you can see a television. And so I've successfully moved the TV from the living room to the dining room. On the other hand, I can try to take fireplace. And, my fireplace is built into the wall. There's an exterior brick chimney, and there's stonework around the front of the fireplace. I can't easily pick it out of the wall and move it elsewhere. So I don't really want to be able to do that, but the way I wrote the game, I can do that. I take it, I move to the dining room, I drop it, and I see a fireplace in the dining room. That's easy to do. I add one more sentence. The fireplace is fixed in place. So now it's a real thing in a real room, but I can't pick up and move it around. Well, it's nice to have a china cupboard and a dining table in my dining room, but I'd like to have some chairs to sit on. And so this gives you a start of how to have multiple instances of some kind of object. We say again in the red on the left-hand column, a chair is a kind of thing, 4 chairs are in the dining room. And now you see in the gameplay transcript, in the dining room, you can see 4 chairs here. Take 1 chair, take it, look. You can see 3 chairs here. So I'm holding, I'm still in the room, but I'm holding it in my knapsack in the adventure game, right? But I see there's only 3 chairs now. I move south, I drop the chair, and now I can see a chair in the living room. So that's a handy skill to have, to be able to have 4 chairs or something. Another kind of example, the kitchen is a room. The kitchen contains a container called a microwave oven. The kitchen contains a container called a refrigerator. The kitchen contains a supporter called a countertop. We have containers and supporters built into Inform 7. A supporter is something like this podium. I have put Professor Banks' clicker on the podium. I put my notes on the podium. Container, well, there's a cabinet over there, which I think if you open the door, there'll be a plastic bottle of dish detergent, or there has been at times. So I can put things inside a container on top of a supporter. And so by saying which of these different objects are, we have some automatic properties. And so now that I've said I have a microwave oven, a refrigerator, and a countertop, when I enter the kitchen, you can see a microwave oven, empty, a refrigerator in which is a pizza, and a countertop here. And so I am hungry. Part of my quiz is a pizza is in the refrigerator. A pizza is edible. A pizza has some text called the temperature. That's an attribute or a field. The temperature of a pizza is usually, quote, room temperature, in quote, end quote. The description of the pizza is, the temperature of the pizza is, left square bracket, temperature of the pizza, right square bracket. This is my other use of square brackets. And what happens is that whole phrase, temperature of the pizza, becomes a variable name in our usual programming terminology. And so you see that I said the temperature is usually room temperature. That's the default, but I can make it be other things. And you see, for example, I take the pizza from pizza refrigerator, examine pizza, and I'm told the temperature of the pizza is very cold. And the temperature changes based on where it has been in the game. So after taking a thing from the refrigerator, I say in Inform code, now the temperature of the pizza is very cold. It just came out of the fridge. But I also say, after taking a thing from the microwave oven, now the temperature of the pizza is very hot. After taking a thing from the countertop, now the temperature of the pizza is comfortably warm. And so I've got a way of controlling, of changing the value of the phrase, the temperature of the pizza. And so now you see what I'm doing. I take pizza from the refrigerator, I examine it, it's very cold. I put it in the microwave, I remove it from the microwave, I examine the pizza, and the temperature is now very hot. We have a built-in command action called eating. The form eat is a built-in command. And so I said earlier that the pizza is edible. And speaking of edible pizza, good timing. I'm on the external advisory committee for the computer science program at California University of Pennsylvania. And so I get to go up every year and evaluate all their senior projects. And one day a team had done some work for a pizza company. They did an online ordering system for them. So they showed how to enter the order, and they clicked enter, and 2 of the guys came in with the pizza by pre-arrangement, which was kind of good. They got a good grade. That was good pizza. But so we can examine the temperature, and we said eat pizza, and the built-in response is you eat whatever it is, the pizza, not Dad, but you as a programmer can change that message. We need now to look at an adventure-like game, and this is meant to be a sort of rip-off of Zork. The clearing is a room. the description of the clearing is, you're standing in a clearing in the middle of a forest. You see a cabin to the north. And I add the detail, the wooden door is north of the clearing and south of the cabin. That feels a little awkward, but that's saying that the door connects the clearing with the cabin. And you can walk in between the outside to the inside, basically. The wooden door is lockable and locked. That's not smooth English, but you understand what's meant. There's a lock, you can lock it, and right now the door is locked. And then we're told, again, on the left is my Inform 7 code. The matching key of the wooden door is the brass key. So you can have multiple keys, and you can have keys and locks mapped together. The brass key is in the clearing. And so I start to play on the right, and it says, you're standing in a clearing in the middle of a forest. You see a cabin to the north. The bad thing is it says you can see a wooden door and a brass key here. And I probably don't want the brass key to be visible right now. I'm going to hidden under the doormat or something like that. But right now, I just try to open the door, and I get a message. It seems to be locked. Take brass key, and then a nice complicated sentence. Unlock wooden door with the brass key. You unlock the wooden door, open wooden door, you open the wooden door, and now I'm north. What I want to do here is have the brass key not be visible. And so I put at the bottom of the left-hand column, the brass key is nowhere. Technically, it's off stage, but that's a good informed location. And so what I can see here is a wooden door and a welcome mat, but I can't see the key. And as you guys are experienced gamers, you know the key's got to be under the mat. And so what I do is, there's about halfway down the left column, I'm saying, instead of lifting the welcome mat, and what that means is not don't lift the welcome mat, but it means the player's going to say lift the welcome mat. And instead of doing the obvious thing in terms of the game mechanics, I'm doing something else. And what I'm doing here is I'm now moving the brass key from off stage into the clearing. So so I say, when I say lift mat, you lift the welcome mat, under the welcome mat as a brass key, but also what's happened is the brass key's been moved into the clearing so I can pick it up and unlock the door. Some more code. I'd like to add a non-player character. I like non-player characters. A cat is a kind of person. That seems weird. There's a category called animal, but I usually make my animal characters people because they have more fun attributes to play with. So I've got a cat as a kind of person. Fluffy is a cat. That was my very first cat when I was 6 years old. A gray tabby. After opening the wooden door, say you are now in the cabin. Fluffy enters in 3 turns from now. Now I could put a call to a random number generator there, and in a real game I would. But the idea now is I enter the cabin. And I see the inside of the wooden door. Wait. Time passes, wait, time passes, you hear, meow. You turn and see a large gray tabby cat. So that's the start of how you can include a non-player character in here. We can also add scoring to the game. We turn on use scoring, and I'm trying to control the bar at the top of the gameplay space. By default, it will say, let's see what it'll say. It'll give the name of the room I'm in, and how many points I have, and how many turns I've taken. Yeah, the turn, what turn it is, and what my total score is right now, and then the time of gameplay. The default is gameplay starts at 9 a.m. and every turn advances time by 1 minute, but you can change that, have that blown up a bit. I can add some more objects. On the left-hand column, we see my Inform 7 code. The table is a supporter. We put things on. On the table are a note and a peanut butter sandwich. The peanut butter sandwich is edible. And I'm interested in writing games for kids, and so I want to keep some conventional sense of morality in the game. And so I've got a note there that's important. Because I hate to have kids, 8-year-old kids, it's fine to walk into cabins and eat all the food. So just keep it a little bit honest. But you see, you can see a wooden door, a table on which are a note and a peanut butter sandwich, a bookcase, a bench, and a rug. And take note. The note says, please help yourself to the peanut butter sandwich. So, you know, we're being quite ethical here. And I said in the code for after taking the note, I say what the note says, and I increase the player's score by 1, and the player gets the message in red over here, your score has just gone up by 1 point. And then finally we eat the sandwich. I didn't say take the peanut butter sandwich. It just I didn't, but I can reach it, then that's done for me, and your score has just gone up by 3 points. I list the rug. This is sounding like Zork. You see a trap door in the floor. You hear, yeah. You turn and there is Fluffy, and your score has gone up by 5 points. If the player's, in case the player types quit, I've added code check quitting the game. So if the command to quit is typed, there's a message that says thank you for playing, your score is, and there's a number out of 9, but it also prompts the user, are you sure you want to quit? The answer, of course, is yes or no. And that's it, about 90 seconds early. So, are there any questions? Or were you gesturing at me?
I was in a clap.
Oh, that's good.